Hello everyone, it's Karen. Welcome to another video. Today we're going to do an album review, an album that celebrates its 40th anniversary this week. It celebrates its 40th anniversary tomorrow. Now I'm doing the video early, a day early, because I'm not sure if I'm going to get any time to record it on the day of the 4th, but I am planning to upload it on the 4th, so by the time you'll see this video it'll be the 4th. But we're going to get down to the video anyway. So today we're going to be reviewing Bruce Springsteen and Born in the USA. And as I say, this album celebrates its 40th anniversary tomorrow, the 4th. So I'm going to go over a bit of history about the album, show you my copies of all the albums, go over the songs, go over like a lot of the singles I've got from the album, and give the album as a whole a marking out of 10. So, Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA was his 7th studio album, released on June the 4th, 1984 on Columbia Records. Now, Bruce had concluded the River Tour in Cincinnati in September of 1981, and by the time the tour had concluded, he had rented a ranch in Colts Neck, New Jersey, where he was living, and after the tour's conclusion of the river, he began to write a lot of new material. The material he was writing, a lot of them concerned Vietnam veterans who had returned home from the war with enthusiastic responses. But during that tour, he had done a concert for Vietnam veterans at the LA Sports Arena in August of 1981, and he'd written Born in the USA, the title track, and he'd done a demo of the song on a 4-track recorder, and he had intended to do other demos he had written during that period, which he did using a 4-track recorder, and he recorded those songs between the December and January of 1981, so over a kind of 2 week to a month period. And a lot of these included material that later went on to Bruce's Nebraska album, which was released in 1982. He had intended to do the demos as actual songs with the E Street Band, which included Roy Betton, at the time included Roy Betton, Clarence Clemens, Danny Federici, Gary Tallent, Steve Van Zandt and Max Weinberg, and they had intended to do them in the April of 1982 where they done The River. But in between this, the band were doing a lot of like other the E Street Band and Bruce were doing other projects as well. Bruce, Steve and the E Street Band were recording with Gary U.S. Bonds for the 1982 album On The Line, and he'd also done Dedication a year earlier, and Steve around about that time was recording a solo album. Steve Van Zandt was recording his first solo album, Men Without Women, which I'll kind of touch upon in another video, but and Bruce had also written a couple of songs for Donna Summer, but John Landau, his manager, suggested he keep one of them, and he gave another to Donna Summer. They had started working the Hit Factory in the January of 1982, and in April they went to the power station where they intended to do the demos he'd done in Colt Necks as a band. But however, Bruce and his co-producers, who were Chuck Plotkin and John Landau, they and Steve Van Zandt weren't very kind of satisfied with the final results, and so they ended up just putting the demo versions out as the Nebraska album in September of 1982. And they then ended up, and Bruce didn't really do much promotion for Nebraska, didn't really do any interviews. They then kept working on a lot of tracks, and then recording continued in April of 1983, when he recorded more material in New York. And this was the first record that Bruce had his longtime engineer Toby Scott recording. Toby Scott had mixed The River, but this was his first album he'd been assigned to be like the recording engineer. They then carried on with other material in the May and June of 1983 at the Hit Factory. But they were the first sessions without Steve Van Zandt. And during that period, Steve Van Zandt had left the band to pursue his own solo career, which was, of course, Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. There are conflicting facts. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but there are stories that perhaps there was personal clashes with Landau. But some other sources say that Steve kind of wanted to do his own thing and be a solo act. And so Bruce wrote a couple of songs inspired by the kind of friendship of Steve Van Zandt, which were Bobby Jean and No Surrender. We'll touch upon them later on. But Bruce had written and recorded a lot of songs, from songs like Lion's Den, Pink Cadillac, Cynthia, Stand On It, None But The Brave, This Hard Land, County Fair, Johnny Bye Bye, Follow That Dream, which was a reworking of the Elvis song from 1962, and then My Love Won't Let You Down, Shut Out the Light, other that followed as well. Those never made it. Many of them would later make it on the Tracks box set in 1998. By the October of 1983, they'd done a couple of other songs, one of them being Brothers Under the Bridge, and it was decided by January of 1984 that Born in the USA would become the album's title, but there was still one thing that was missing. John Landau felt that the album didn't have a lead single that would maybe introduce Bruce to a new pop-found audience. But eventually Bruce did come up with a song and wrote Dancing in the Dark the next day. So after the sessions concluded in March, they did a lot of mixing, and the album eventually was narrowed down to 12 tracks, and it came out in the June of 1984. This album, as I say, was released in June of 1984, and it was the first album in America to come out on the new compact disc format. The album was a big success, debuted at #1 in the Billboard 200 albums chart during the week of June 23rd, 1984, and was there for topping the charts 2 weeks later. Well, initially charted at #9 to be exact, and then went to #1 within 2 weeks in July of 1984, and stayed in the top 10 in America for 84 consecutive weeks. It was also a commercial success in other parts of the world, such as Europe and the UK, where it charted at #1 in 1985, that was on the peak of the success of the tour. It's now regarded as one of the best-selling albums of all time, selling 330 million copies worldwide. And this was a big thing, like, you know, with the MTV, a lot of the singles had videos and got a lot of video and radio play, with some of the music videos that followed. And the tour itself was a success, going from America, Europe, Australia and Japan, all over the world, from June 1984 till October of 1985. So it was an 18-month tour, and that tour saw Bruce playing not just arenas, but he was now playing outdoor venues and stadiums, and that would be a tradition that has continued in the years that have followed. So yeah, and the tour also saw additions to 2 new members of the band who are still with Bruce to this day. They were Nils Lofgren, who did a bit of work with Neil Young and Crazy Horse, and Patti Scalfia, who's of course now married to Bruce to this day. So anyway, I've done over the background. Now I'm going to do my copies of the album. Here's my vinyl copy. This is an original UK pressing. The cover is very iconic. As you can see behind me, I've even got it on a poster, which you probably can't see, but there it is there. It's a very iconic cover with like the white t-shirt and the jeans, like the pink. But some copies it's kind of red. It kind of matches the US flag a bit. Back it's the same as the front. There's songs. And it has the original inner sleeve with all the credits and where it was recorded and whatnot. That's a nice picture of Bruce. And there's the band. So there's Bruce, there's Steve, Roy, Gary, that's Max, Danny, Clarence, and there's all the E Street Band in that photo. And it's on the CBS label, as we stated. And it also comes with a couple of inserts, one of which being the lyric insert, which has a picture of Bruce there. Always quite nice that they include it. This is like a tradition that has continued in his albums, with the exception of Only the Strong Survive. That doesn't have any lyrics on it. But pretty much every album since Born to Run has had lyrics in it. Even the Greatest Hits from '95. And it also comes with this insert with all like the other albums that were available at the time, so every album up to that point. Okay. Slide it back in. This is another copy. I got this out of a guy's collection many years ago. Not in the best of shape, but the spine's a little worn, but it's not too bad. It's got a bit of a sticker thing up there. Has all the inserts though, and it's an original pressing on the CBS label, so not much difference between that and the other one. I also got a CD from the Bruce Springsteen collection box set from a few years ago. Much packaged similar to the vinyl, and we're on the Columbia label, much like the original vinyl was in America. It would be nice if they reproduced the some of the inserts for this box set, but hey ho, it's not too bad. There is actually a box set where it does do that, but I think that might be I'm not too sure if it's still available though, but it may be, I don't know. But anyway, we're going to get started, and we're going to get started with the album's tracks. So, we start with Born in the USA, and as we said earlier, this was the first thing that Bruce wrote for the album. I love the way it starts with the keyboard that I think either Roy or Danny kicks in, and Max Weinberg starts with the drum, and it just kicks in and you're drawn in when that intro comes on. Love Bruce's vocal performance as well. The lyrics, as I say, deal with the theme of about a Vietnam veteran who's come home from the war and is now, people just hardly acknowledge him, and he's now been like pushed aside and outcast because he was a Vietnam veteran, and whatnot. And over the years, it has become a most misunderstood song. People believe that the song is like acknowledging the bit. It's like been treated as a flag waving kind of song, which America's very big for. But that's really not the case at all. And even Ronald Reagan had. I'm not going to be getting to political, but I think even Ronald Reagan kind of endorsed Springsteen with this song. He said, America's future rests in 1,000 dreams inside your heart. It rests in the message of hope and songs so many young Americans admire. New Jersey's own Bruce Springsteen. And helping you make those dreams come true, it is what This Job Is Mine is all about. So this is around about the time that Ronald Reagan began to really endorse Springsteen. So around about the time of the album. So, but anyway, back to the music. But I think it's a great song, and it's one that Bruce has continued to play live on his tours to this day. But he doesn't often do it in his American dates, but he does it in like Europe. When he comes to Europe, he plays that song. I've seen him do this song on both occasions, twice in Glasgow and in Edinburgh. So yeah, it's one that he really does play really for the European audiences, I think. But he did play it on like American dates sometimes until like in recent years. But yeah, great one to start the album off. And but Born in the USA wasn't a single in the UK, but it was released as the B-side of I'm on Fire in June 1985. But it was issued as a single in other countries like America. And I have a 12-inch of that song, which is a Holland import. But this has a lot of like mixes, but I'll kind of show this later on when I discuss the singles. But yeah, Born in the USA, great track. It's one that has appeared on Greatest Hits albums to this day. In case you're wondering why I'm looking down, I'm kind of reading notes from my phone here as like a form of research. Because sometimes I kind of go over the place. I need to be prepared for these videos. Maybe that's a future lesson, to be prepared, but we're going back to that. Then we get the second track on the album, which is Cover Me. Now, Cover Me was the second single from the album, and it's a great song. This was a song that Bruce had intended to write for Donna Summer. Now, Donna Summer was a disco artist from like the 70s, kind of came in the disco scene in the 70s. And Bruce had intended to write this one for her, but John Landau, his manager, of course, suggested that it was too good to give away. But he did nonetheless write another song for Donna Summer, which was called Protection. And Cover Me, as I say, was the second single on the album, which I have as a 7-inch here. But I think it came out after the album, which we'll show later on. Yeah, great track. Like the lyrics, like the vocal, really like the guitar in it, and great Bruce song. One of the kind of my favourite of the lesser known Bruce songs. Is Cover Me, but that's a great song. Then we have Darlington County. Darlington County, that's another great one. I really love the guitar intro, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. For some strange reason, and I don't know if other Bruce fans think the same, but it almost makes me think of Cadillac Ranch from the River album a few years earlier. It's just some weird thought that came into my head one day. When I heard the two intros, I'm thinking, they both sound very much alike. The do 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 do. That's Cadillac Ranch, and then Darlington County is dun 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 dun. For some strange reason, I had that in my head that they both sounded similar, but going off sidetrack. If you think so, put the comment down. Anyway, like Darlington County, it's a great song. Love the saxophone bit in the middle as well, played by the big man Clarence Clemens. Vocals, lyrics are very much, two guys going to Darlington County and whatnot. One that Bruce played live on the Born In The U.S.A. tour as well, as with pretty much every song in this album. He pretty much... but the actual... they say that their fathers... They tell the girls in the song that their fathers own each one of the World Trade Centers, which was New York. But the actual Darlington counties in South Carolina, I've just found that out. But this was something he originally written during the Darkness sessions, but it didn't get recorded till Born In The U.S.A. But it was played on pretty much every part of the Born In The U.S.A. tour. But it wouldn't emerge again until I think after he sort of finished with the other band in 1992, 93. But he played it on the reunion tour, and he has played it every tour since. And sometimes Bruce has played the opening notes of Honky Tonk Women by the Rolling Stones before doing that song. But yeah, Darlington County is a great one. Then we have Working on the Highway. Working on the Highway is almost kind of great rockabilly style, rock and roll style type of number, kind of Elvis-esque, if you know what I mean. But yeah, although this was never a single on the album, it has remained popular in concert with many performances throughout 1984 up to 2016. So it was a very, very popular song on his tours. And at one point in 1992, when Bruce was playing with the other band, he had his mother on stage dance with her towards the end of the song. So yeah, great one, Working on the Highway, kind of rock and roll type of song. As I say, up tempo. Yeah, love that. One of my favourites. Working on the Highway. Yeah, great one. Then we have Downbound Train. Downbound Train. This is a particular favourite of mine and my dad. This is the one that me and my dad both love. Again, although it wasn't a single, it has it gained a lot of album orientated rock airplay, and it was featured regularly in the Born In The U.S.A. tour, and it has been played in concert quite a bit ever since. A very popular one amongst the fans. The lyrics, I love the kind of keyboard bit in the middle with Danny Federici, or is it Roy Betton? I know it's one and two because they both do a bit of keyboard on here. And like the bit of the guitar when then the band eventually kicks back in. Love the lyrics, great lyrics. Pretty much everyone, I'm pretty sure, can relate to this song at one stage or another. Even me. I'm pretty sure everybody can relate to that song, Downbound Train, because it's one of those ones that it just sticks in your mind and it resonates with you sometimes in life. But yeah, great one, Downbound Train. Then the last track on side one is I'm on Fire. I'm on Fire. There's a podcast which I heard Toby Scott, the engineer, talking about the album, and it was just Bruce, Gary, Max, and I think Roy Betton. And this was like an impromptu fashion when Bruce started making up a slow tune on guitar for some lyrics he had, for which there was a song called Spanish Eyes on the Promise sessions, the Promise album. And drummer Max Weinberg and Roy Betton, when they heard it, created an accompaniment on the spot. So this kind of came pretty much on the spot. One that they kind of improvised on, really. This song was a single, which I think was in the UK especially, was one of the last singles they released from the album. In America, Johnny Bye Bye was the B-side of I'm on Fire, but Johnny Bye Bye wouldn't see release until the, I think it saw release in the 12-inch of I'm on Fire. But I think it also was released in Tracks box set, but yeah, there's I'm on Fire, and Born In The U.S.A. was the B-side of that in the UK. Yeah. In terms of live performance, it was only performed sporadically at the start of the tour, but within a couple of months it got a regular place in the middle of the second set, and a live version of the featured on that live 1975 to 85 box set in Giant Stadium in August of 1985. So yeah, great one, I'm on Fire. Even I read somewhere that Johnny Cash even covered the song as well. Trying to figure it out. I know I did hear that he did a cover of it. But anyway, so yeah, great one. I'm on fire. Then we get Turn It Over to Side 2 with No Surrender. And as I said earlier in the video, No Surrender was inspired by the kind of friendship of Steve Van Zandt and Bruce. And this is one of the few tracks they did when Steve left the band. But No Surrender, when I saw him in Edinburgh last year, this was one that he opened with, No Surrender. Great opener. And it's one that he opened quite a lot of the 2023 tour on, was No Surrender. And that's a great opener. And it's one that he's played live in the years. And there's a nice acoustic version on the live 1975 to 85 box. On the live archive, there's even like versions of the Born In The U.S.A. tour. Where it's just him and the acoustic guitar and a harmonica and a slower version. It's a really good version. I like that one a lot. Again, not a single, but it did reach the mainstream rock chart at number 29. So it goes to show that a lot of tracks may not be hit singles, but they do somehow make the mainstream rock chart. REO Speedwagon, High Infidelity was the Tough Guys Night of the Season. They were never singles, but they made the mainstream charts, I think, rock charts, or the album track charts, I think. Might be right or might be wrong, but that was another example that I can think of. Then we get Bobby Jean. Bobby Jean, this is one of my favourite Bruce songs on the album. Bobby Jean was again another one that was written and inspired after the departure of Steve Van Zandt. I love the lyrics. You know, kind of, you know, Bruce in the song says, I came by to your house, your mum said you went away, and whatnot. You hung with me when all the others turned away, turned up their nose. We like the same music, like the same bands, and like the same clothes. Which could indicate, you know, it could be about Steve, because Bruce and Steve loved a lot of the same bands from the 60s, from the Beatles, the Stones, British Invasion. They loved a lot of that music. And so yeah, one thing I love is that the end bit with the saxophone played by Clarence Clemens, probably one of my favourite solos that Clarence did. But then as it fades out, and then I saw Bruce Springsteen do this song last year at Murrayfield, which was one of my most memorable concert moments, was seeing Bruce do that song at Murrayfield Stadium. And one I've got a lot of memories of that song, one that I loved hearing him do, because it's one of my favourites from the album. Then we get I'm Going Down. Now, I'm Going Down, this was never, this was a single in the US and UK in August of 1985, which I have here. But it didn't really make any impact. I think in the UK it was issued as a bonus, like a bonus single, because they released all the Born In The U.S.A. singles in like a box set, I believe. And that was a bonus single, and I'm Going Down was the bonus 45, and then I think it was released as a standalone. Could be right or I could be wrong. I'm not sure, but anyway, Going Down, another one of my favourites. I like the way the guitar stops, and then the Max Weinberg kicks in with the drum. I like the sort of, it's a good up tempo, upbeat type song as well. Again, this is another song I saw Bruce do in concert, Hampden Park in 2016 in Glasgow. He did this song, and yeah, I loved hearing him do that because it's one of my favourite Bruce songs. One of my favourite Bruce songs, I'm Going Down. Uncut contributor John Lewis kind of described the song as having a country music influence and sounding in places like Johnny Cash. Yeah, really like that song. One of my favourites, I'm Going Down. Up-tempo song. Great one. Then we have Glory Days. Glory Days. What a tune. That is a great song. One of my favourite Bruce songs is Glory Days. And this song, of course, big hit single. One of the last singles from the album. And I also have it on a 12-inch as well. And yeah, one of my favourite ones, Glory Days. Again, one that Bruce has continued to play live in concert. I love the way the guitar starts. And then Max Weinberg starts in with the drum. And then, before you know it, the whole song starts. And then it's kind of like a fun up song, you know, type of song. Glory Days, you know, kind of Song kind of Bruce tells a story about you know, an encounter with an old friend from high school, and reflects on some of the people he knew during his high school days as well, on his glory days, and whatnot. Yeah, great one. One of my favourite glory days. Again, one that Bruce has continued to play live in concert. And in June 2022, Bruce was a guest at 2 of Paul McCartney's concerts in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and at Glastonbury. And he did Glory Days with Paul McCartney. And it's great to see that footage. If you can find footage on YouTube of Bruce Springsteen singing Glory Days with Paul McCartney on YouTube, it's a great, great watch. Definitely give it a watch. Then, of course, we have Dancing in the Dark. Dancing in the Dark was the first single issued from the album. It was the one that, as I said earlier, this was one that Bruce, that John Landau felt was missing, was a hit single that would get fans in. And Dancing in the Dark was that song, and Bruce wrote it very quickly, and it was the last thing he recorded for the album. And of course, there's a famous video that they filmed on the Born in the USA tour, which was at opening night in St. Paul, and Courtney Cox was in the audience, and as of course we all know, she was pulled up on stage and danced with Bruce at the end of the video. And as we all know, Courtney Cox would later become a famous actress for the TV show Friends in the 90s, which anybody who remembers that was a very, very popular show back in the day of the 90s, but I'm going sidetracked. Dancing in the Dark, one of my favourites. I love the lyrics and I love the beat to it. I love the lyrics, you know, go to bed feeling the same way, nothing but tired and bored with myself. Whatnot. It kind of definitely lyrics I can definitely resonate with in life, and I know others can. It's definitely one of my favourites on the album, and it was a big hit. And of course, the video got a lot of airplay on MTV. As I say, this was like the area of like the video era where, you know, you would have your record, you made a record, and then you had a single, and of course, with every single, you'd make a video, and the video would get airplay on MTV. Or whatever video channels of the day. I don't think we had that over here, but I think Top of the Pops there had those videos as well, back in the day probably. But anyway, great one, Dancing in the Dark. One that, again, Bruce has continued to play live in concert. And if I had to choose my favourite Bruce record, I'd say it's that one, Dancing in the Dark. One of my favourite songs of all time, definitely. Then the album closes with a nice slow song called My Hometown. My Hometown was the last single from the album. I was wrong. I thought I'm Going Down was the last, but My Hometown was the final single issued off the album. It came out in like 1985. Lyrics kind of speak about, you know, recollection of like the hometown and the kind of the racial violence and the kind of that America faced, and the kind of economic depression that the town, like a recession that the town, his hometown faced back then. And then kind of fast forwards to like the then present day, where he's talking with his family and maybe moving out of town, but then he does what his dad did at the beginning of the song, takes his son for a drive and says, "This is your hometown, son." And definitely one of my favourite Bruce songs. It's a good way to close the album. So yeah, really great, one of my favourites. There was a video for the song which was filmed during one of the Born in the U.S.A. tour concerts. Even though there wasn't really much visual happening with the video, it still managed to get some MTV airplay. And as I said, was the last single off the album, and it's a good way to end the album. Definitely one of my favourite Bruce tracks, and one that has appeared on Greatest Hits as well. And as a surprise, in some of the European dates on the 2023 tour, Bruce revived the song for the first time in a long time. So yeah, great one there, My Hometown. Okay, now I'm going to go over the album's singles. So the first one up was, of course, Dancing in the Dark, was a big hit. The B-side was Pink Cadillac. That was never issued on an album. And I do have a couple of other copies on like the orangey yellow label. The second one was, of course, Cover Me. This unfortunately doesn't have its picture sleeve, but what can you do? B-side was Jersey Girl, which was the cover of a Tom Waits song recorded at the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford on July 9th, 1981 during the River Tour, and that was later released on the live 1975-85 box. Then we have I'm on Fire, back to Born in the USA, double A-side. Sadly, again, this one doesn't have its picture sleeve, but Glory Days, B-side was Standing It, which was never on the album either. I'm Going Down and Janie Don't You Lose Heart was of course another single. Really like that picture sleeve. I think that was from the I'm on Fire video that was done. Nice picture. My Hometown, and on the B-side was Santa Claus Is Coming to Town, which was recorded live at CW Post College in Greenville, New York on the 12th of December 1985. Sorry, 1975 on the Born In The U.S.A tour. And I know I've got some extra copies of Bruce's singles, but I'm just going to show you like one I've got. Okay, so the 12-inch single, Dance in the Dark, extended version, slightly bigger than the, if I can find it, than the 7-inch. This is on the red CBS label. Cover Me, with Cover Me Undercover Mix, Dub, Shut Out the Light, and then beside Dance in the Dark, Dub Mix, and Jersey Girl Live. So yeah, I'm not too keen on the mixes, but it's good to have like the collection. Yeah, quite a nice shot of Bruce in the front there. Born in the USA, the Freedom Mix, with Born in the USA Dub and Born in the USA Radio Mix. Again, this is a Holland pressing, but I do like that picture. It's an iconic shot of Bruce with the guitar, the USA stripes behind him. And then of course, Glory Days. And Glory Days and Standing on one side, on the other side, Sherry Darling from the River and Racing in the Street from Darkness in the Edge of Town. Not too sure why they did put two songs, previously with songs, but anyway, this is a special edition of the 12-inch because you unfold it and it has this picture of Bruce on the other side from the Born in the USA tour. Looks like a stadium concert, I believe. Oh. It's a nice picture. And there's the record on the CBS label. So there you have it. That's it for my review of Born in the USA. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is definitely my favourite Bruce album, and it's definitely a 10 out of 10 album. It's definitely up there with albums like The River, Tunnel of Love, The Rising, Devils and Dust, Letter to You. Yes, even Only the Strong Survive, although that was a covers album, but that's still a great album. Born to Run in Darkness. The list is endless when it comes to Bruce albums. Hence why I'm still really eager to do my career review Springsteen video when that happens. And I hope you like that video as well. So yeah, there'll be another album anniversary coming up quite soon because The Killer's Hot Fuss will be 20 on Friday, so I hope to do a video for that one. And also, The Beatles' A Hard Day's Night will be 60 in July, on July the 10th. So we're definitely going to do a video for that album's anniversary. For that, so yeah, I hope you tune in for those coming up. But like I say, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. If you like this album too, leave a comment or like the video. And we'll see you again for the next video. Till then, see you then.